Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to introduce you this section of the first call for proposal for the business plan 2022-2024 of the EIT Urban Mobility. But first of all, I would like to address some housekeeping rules. This session is going to be streamed and it is going to be also recorded, just for your information. And in order to follow the GDPR rules, we are avoiding you to be somehow visible in the session. So whenever you have questions, please post them during the chat. We are going to answer them based also on the timing. We might be able to answer them directly during the session itself or by writing in the chat. In any case, we are going to prepare an FAQ part, which is going to be saved on our website, where the call documents can be found, so you can always be updated there. So we can start by saying basically that this is going to be, as I said, the first big call that EIT is launching. And it has been launched last week on Friday and will be kept up until the 18th of May. But first things first, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Alessandra Pala and I'm the head of the Project Management Office of EIT Urban Mobility. Now, what we are going to do today is that we are going to provide you with general introduction of the overall aim, the objectives and the requirements of the call. And this is going to be followed by a 30-minute sessions for each call. Specifically today till 4 o'clock, we will hear more about innovation, about citizen engagement, and about academy. This is going to be followed up tomorrow morning with the specific requirements on business creation, on the regional innovation scheme, and also on public realm. Now, what I'm going to provide to you today is to have an overview on the aim and the strategic focus of the call, which will be followed by further details on the general requirements provided by the colleagues of the Project Management Office. So the first information that I would like to share with you is the fact that we are somehow some front runners, let's say, because this is the first call of the new programming period that is following the Horizon Europe rules. Now, some of you might be already knowledgeable about the fact that actually the Horizon Europe regulation has not been approved yet. So we are working on a final draft that is not obviously expected to be modified. And that's the reason why lots of documents that you have seen in this call, lots of parts of the documents contain some disclaimers. Now, 2021 is a transition period for the users of Horizon Europe, which means also that we are working to provide new application, new reporting tools that cannot be available right now, but will be available definitely in 2022. This means also that the information that you are providing in this call might be inserted and included in additional new tools already starting from next year. Now, a few words about this call specifically. Now, the preparation phase of this call started in the second half of last year, more or less around September. And it included a strong involvement of the EIT Urban Mobility core partners in defining the city challenges and also the focus areas that they were going to be addressed. Now, if I can get, okay, the following slide. Now, all activities of EIT Urban Mobility serve the purpose of achieving 3 high-level societal goals. First of all, improved quality of life in cities, mitigation of climate change, and creation of jobs and strengthening the European urban mobility sector. To achieve these goals, 5 strategic objectives steer our activities and ambitions, and each call, as you could see, are setting out specific evaluation and selection criteria which ensure that all the proposals that have been submitted and that we are going to evaluate are actually contributing to the EIT Urban Mobility strategic objectives and, as a consequence, also to our vision and mission. Now, As a topical focus of the call 2022, five challenge areas have been defined based on the challenges that were somehow identified by the cities across Europe. And you can find common elements addressing these five challenge areas in the majorities of the 6 calls. And this will be further explored by the thematic area directors in the coming few info sessions that you will have today, but also tomorrow. The 5 challenge areas are active mobility, sustainable city logistics, energy and mobility, future digital mobility, and also public realm. Now, as part of my last slide, I can tell you that we have a series of events that have been tailored for your needs. As you can see, the 5 challenge areas constitute the core of the calls. Therefore, the 5 challenge areas focus days have been identified, and they have the purpose of sharing ideas, and matchmake are basically held. 2 of them already took place in the past days on the 16th and 18th of March, but 3 of them are basically going to be to take place in the coming days, 2 till the end of March and 1 in April. Now, today, though, we are kicking off a series of an info session, which is marked in green in the slide, where more information about the call specifically, about the general requirements will be provided. So today we're going to provide you a very general outline in this half an hour, but we are going to prepare other info sessions where we're going to provide you more information in detail on specific elements. For instance, how the evaluation is going to be done, what are what is the submission step that has to be followed in Plaza. There are also some other info sessions that are more related to, for instance, the innovation call, when we will be discussing about the financial sustainability within the innovation projects, or for instance, how to integrate the risk into innovation. So you can find more details on the specific sessions and directly sign up actually for them when clicking on the agenda within your Bit2Match account. Now, I think that this is it from my side, and I would like to give the floor to my colleague that is going to explain to you what is the call calendar that we have in front of us and also the evaluation process. Thank you very much. I give the floor to my colleague, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Alessandra. Well, first of all, hi everybody. My name is Mark Martinez. I'm part of the Program Management Office team here in EIT. And I will be quick. I will try to be quick and I will try to be short. First of all, just letting you know which are the main deadlines that you must keep in mind or that you must take into consideration, okay, related to these different calls that we have. And also then explaining just few features about which will be the evaluation process that we will have. As Alessandra already said, okay, we will have a specific session in the future where we will explain in detail which are the different steps and how work the different steps on the evaluation process, okay? So regarding the call calendar, as you have been able to see in the different call documents that are already published in your website, the main deadlines or the main dates that you must keep in mind, first of all, is the 18th of May. Okay, as you may see, the 18th of May, it's just the date for the deadline. And as you can see, what we have in the call document is just the 18th of May. It means that you will have all the day, okay, until 11:59 p.m. Copenhagen time, okay, to submit your project proposals. However, I know that you will try to do it with more time and that you will try to do it and to do the submission of your proposals just with 1 or 2 days of let's say, time, of buffering time, to have enough time to, let's say, correct any potential mistake that you can have. After doing so, once the deadline will be closed, we will go to eligibility and admissibility check, okay? That will take 1 week, okay? In this eligibility and admissibility check, we will try to check if all proposals are eligible and admissible. I will talk about it later, okay? The only thing that you must keep in mind is that if your proposal is not eligible or admissible for any reason, you will receive a notification, let's say, during the beginning of June or the end of May, okay? So after doing this eligibility and admissibility check, we'll go to the evaluation process. As I told you, I will talk about it later, okay? And after doing so, during the beginning of July, you will receive the first communication on the results, okay, about if your proposal has been approved or not approved, or let's say, if your proposal have been proposed for funding or not, okay? Those proposals that will be proposed for funding can have some conditions or recommendations from our side. Accordingly, you will have 2 weeks, okay, to carry out this, let's say, condition clearing. And after doing so, during the end of July, we will carry out the compliance check of the fulfillment of the conditions. Finally, we will have the final portfolio selection during the beginning of August, which means that we will have the proposals, let's say, proposed to be granted to the EIT for the beginning of August. So regarding the evaluation process, I will be quick, okay, just main features, okay, the evaluation process, okay, it's mainly distributed within 5 phases, okay. The first phase is the admissibility and eligibility check, as I said, okay. Here, what you must keep in mind are the different eligibility criteria that you can find in the different call documents, okay, from the different areas that we have, okay. It's important to check all eligibility criteria, and if you don't understand something, just send us an email and we will explain that, okay? Because this is let's say, this is a really important thing to keep in mind, okay? Because maybe you can have a wonderful proposal, but if the proposal doesn't pass the eligibility criteria, then the proposal will be automatically ineligible, okay? In case you receive a notification from us saying that your proposal is ineligible, okay, you also have the possibility to present an appeal, okay? You can find the appeal process, okay, within the supporting documents that are already uploaded in our website. So the next step is the quality evaluation, okay? This quality evaluation, okay, is the main evaluation, is the main part of the evaluation process, which will be carried out by the different evaluation panels that will be integrated by 3 different external expert evaluators that will evaluate your project proposals, okay? This quality evaluation process is divided in 2 phases, okay? The first phase is the strategic fit evaluation, okay? Which is important for you to take into consideration are the questions related to each call document which integrates this strategic fit evaluation, okay? Because the strategic fit evaluation is a qualifying step, which means that you need to take at least 3 points for each of the 3 questions in order to go to the full proposal evaluation, okay? After doing so, if your proposal passed this strategic fit evaluation, you will go to the full proposal evaluation. And as a result of this part of the process, what we will have will be the individual evaluation reports just to let you know, will be 3 individual evaluation reports for each proposal, okay? 1 from each external expert evaluation. After doing so, we will have the consensus meeting, okay? This consensus meeting will be integrated by the 3 external expert evaluators plus the rapporteur that will develop the summary evaluation report. That will be a summary evaluation report, will be a report in which we will update which are the different scorings that you have within the different sections of the evaluation process, and also which are the main feedbacks that we have, or the main analysis or the main comments regarding the evaluation process on your project proposal, in order to let you know why your proposal has been approved or why your proposal has been rejected, etc. Okay, after doing so, the summary evaluation report will go to the quality assessment, okay, in order to be sure that all summary evaluation reports have enough quality to be sent to you. And finally, we will carry out the compilation of the results. The main outcomes of this phase of the evaluation process will be the summary evaluation reports, the evaluation results list, okay, that will be a list ranking the proposals for according to the scoring, okay, and finally the call report, okay, that will be an analysis report analyzing the main features and the main feedbacks that we must keep in mind regarding the evaluation process. After this consensus meeting, and taking these 3 documents that we said before, remember, summary evaluation report, evaluation results list and the call report, the selection committees will carry out the portfolio selection. Which is important for you to keep in mind from this part of the process is that you should read in the call document referred to the area at which you would like to submit your project proposal, the portfolio selection criteria. Okay, the portfolio selection criteria will be the criteria that we will use in order to analyze which will be, let's say, the main reasons to choose one project or another regarding the different projects that will arrive to these different selection committees. As you will see, okay, in the call document, and we will explain in the future in the specific session for the evaluation process, it's important for you to keep in mind that just the proposals having an equal scoring of 60 or over will go to this portfolio selection process. The main outcomes of this part of the evaluation process will be the ranking list of projects per area, plus the portfolio selection with conditions. So the thing is that after doing everything, we will have the communication of results, okay, to the different applicants, okay, where the different applicants will receive, first of all, an evaluation letter, where you will find if your project proposal has been proposed for funding or not, and in case the proposal is proposed for funding, you can find some conditions and recommendations that you will have, let's say, to revise or to update in your project proposals. Also, what is important to keep in mind is that we will never reject a project proposal for not fulfilling the recommendations, but it's important for you to fulfill, okay, the conditions that you will find in your evaluation letter. And together with this evaluation letter, you also will find your summary evaluation report, okay? And well, that's it from my side. And now let me give the word to my next colleague from the PMO. Just a quick reminder, remember that you will have the more detailed evaluation process session on the 7th of April at 2 p.m. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mark and Alessandra, for the information that you have given so far. My name is Polina Toropova, and I'm a Partnership Management Officer at EIT Urban Mobility. Next slide, please. So why I'm here today? So basically, creating your proposal, following all the requirements that we published is important. Finding the correct partners and organizations for your consortium is also very important. But a very important step is to basically, once you found these partners for your consortium, is to make them register on participant portal. So don't forget that we are giving money, the European money, and as any other European funding organization, we need to follow some rules. Rule number 1, you need to apply for the PIC number in the European Commission database. Please don't scared about all this text that is written here. It's actually all links. And afterwards, after this webinar, we can share this with you, and you can, in your time, have a look, click on everywhere, and get acquainted with all the information. So step number 1, read all the links and register on EU participant portal. If you have already the PIC number, it's also important that you keep updated all the information in the European Commission databases, because there will be some validation checks later on. Step number 2, we've got a tool called Plaza, where once you have created your proposal, you will submit it. And this is also the tool that you are going to use like for the selected proposals. And here we also have got some tips and life hacks how to basically work with the Plaza tool. And if you are selected for the proposal, there is another tool that you will get acquainted with, EIT Urban Mobility Partner site. Next slide, please. So as I told you, it's important, if you are a completely new organization to the EU funding world, you need to go right now and register in the EU participant portal. If you are an organization with already existing PIC number, you need to check if you have access and if all the legal information like legal address, your VAT, your legal representative is updated, and here we've got some important contacts. Plaza, how Plaza works basically. So it works from the point of view of the single point of contact. So once you register, and if you're the first person to register, you become a single point of contact. And then as a single point of contact, you can choose and complete all the information in the partner information form. So this is also a very important step, because if you don't complete it, we don't know who you are. Are you an SME, which is also quite important? Are you private, public? So Plaza is really information for us to get to know you from the organization point of view, right? So understand which kind of organization you are, if you have PIC or not, and all this. And as I told you, the third tool that we are going to use is a EIT Mobility Partner site, but this is a specific tool that we will use. It's a platform to exchange information and already legal documents when you have been already selected for the project. So again, do not worry about all this amount of text. We will share the slides and you will have access to all these links and you can check. And if you have any questions, slide number 3, please. Next slide. So if you have any questions, you can access, these email addresses listed here. And also my email address is also here. So please don't be afraid, get in touch, and we will definitely help you out to get acquainted with this EU funding world. Thanks so much. And I give a word to my next project management department colleague.
So good morning, everybody. This is Silvia Simonelli, Head of Finance. I'm going just to give a very brief, let's say, heads up on the financial aspects of this call. Next slide, please. Okay, this business plan will have the usual pre-financing balance payment scheme. That means that during the year 2022, participants will be eligible for a pre-financing, and there will be a balance payment scheme at the end of the project. Since the EIT itself is not disclosing the full detailed information on this usual pre-financing and balance payment scheme, we will be offering you a further information later on in the process. But please rest assured that there will be a usual pre-financing and balance payment scheme. Additionally, just a heads up on cost eligibility. The cost eligibility will be based on the new MG8 noted. Since we do not have such document readily available by now, since this document is being worked upon during this months of February, March, and in April, we will organize info sessions a little bit later on in the year, probably in May. In any case, the cost eligibility criteria is not going to be very different from the AMGA or the structure we were used to with Horizon Europe. Costs will still be organized in direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs are those costs which are directly linked to the implementation of the specific action and can be attributed to the action directly, and they must not include any indirect costs. Whereas indirect costs are costs that are not directly linked to the actions and are calculated as 25% of the specific direct costs. I know this is not a lot of information. There are some more information available in the call text, but in any case, we will be organizing from the finance department info sessions when the MGA is fully in line and available, and its contents are, let's say, not a draft, but a firm decision. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Hi, hello. This is Miguel Ángel Martínez Botí, also from the Project Management Office team. And I will very, very briefly present you one slide about project implementation, monitoring and reporting. Basically, what you would be able to expect if your proposal is accepted and you get into the business plan 2022. So if we move to the next slide, please. So you have a very simple timeline of a, let's call a standard year, which may change a little bit depending on Horizon Europe regulations and so on next year, but this I think gives you a good idea of what you can expect. You have a kickoff meeting at the beginning of your activity, and the activity finishes at the end of the year. This is assuming a 1-year activity, but obviously this can change depending on the duration of the activity, but let's take this as an example. Throughout the year, you will have you will accomplish your outputs, which will normally go together with a deliverable that you will submit in our systems. Also, you will achieve some KPIs, and again, you will submit your achievements and supporting documentation in our system. That it's a continuous reporting that you will do throughout the year, perhaps concentrated towards the end of it. Then there is a midterm report towards month 6, normally followed by a midterm review where your activity is assessed. How are you doing in terms of performance, achieving your outputs, deliverables, KPIs, financial, etc. And then you have to do a final report towards the end of the year, month 12, but also some activity also takes place in the beginning of the following year regarding the KPIs or the activity reports or some the cost reporting, etc. So this is in a nutshell what a standard year would look like. Continuous submission of deliverables, KPIs, and then two big kind of milestone, let's call it, in the mid-year with a report and a review, and at the end of the year. And that's all from me. Thank you very much, and I hand over to my next colleague. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks million, everybody. So now we have talked about all the general sections related to the call. Now we are going to the specific sections, okay, and specifically to the different call and to different call areas. So now we are going, first of all, with innovation, then with citizen engagement, and finally with academy. So let me give you the word to my colleague Gareth from innovation.
Hello, it's lovely to be able to have a chance to chat with you today. And we'll be going through the innovation call. So the next slide, please. Perfect. On to the next slide. So just a quick strategic focus. Alessandra had highlighted the objectives that we have, and we've got common objectives. Importantly, resolving issues facing European cities, improving citizens' lives, and putting innovative ideas to real tests. So the general challenges we're looking for, it's quite top level, okay? So it's nothing that different from you've seen from last year: quality of access, physical and digital safety, new technologies dealing with population growth, air quality, but also we're looking for evidence from our innovation projects to support and influence regulatory and behavioral change, okay? The issues that we're looking at, we want people to propose new ideas to demonstrate and exploit in living labs and create commercial value. That's a very important element from this side of innovation, is that we're looking to support business-driven work. The challenges, again, it was highlighted originally, we'll be concentrating on 4 of the 5 challenges this year, which would be the active mobility, sustainable city logistics, mobility energy, and future or digital mobility as it's called. Next slide. Proposal duration. This has been a big question and something that we want to highlight to you. Is since our program is all about market-orientated business solutions, it should be TRL 6 and above. Now, it's a product, a service, a solution that should be quite developed. So it's not early stage research. As such, what we're proposing is 12, 18, or 24-month duration projects. And in the application, you'll be expected to state how long you expect to be funded, give the detailed work plan for 2022, and provide a high-level work plan for 2023 and a provisional budget for that year. Okay, doesn't mean we're going to give you everything you ask for that year. Importantly, how you perform in the year and your delivery will have an important impact, but you do need to let us know how long you plan that project to be and what you expect the budget to be in the tasks. Support beyond 24 months. People have asked, you know, what are we doing there? So we have programs in factory and we have programs in business creation, and we're doing a lot more fluid handover between our programs this year to try and make it easier for our partners to go through the full value creation cycle with us. Importantly, if you've got early stage innovation, if you've got detailed policy regulatory work, we're not sending you away. What we'll do is we're going to work with you through this year to find other funding programs that we could support and push that forward to. Okay, so please feel free, if you think this call's not for you, we can still talk and discuss other options for you. Next slide, please. These are the 4 challenge areas we highlighted before. So the first one, we're just going to go through the 4 of them just to make sure we're on the same page, is active mobility. Again, this is all about physical exercise, walking, cycle, but we also will allow pedal-assisted bikes and e-scooters, skateboards, but not actual moped motorbikes. We have a lot of questions on what's called e-scooters or e-patinetes or these other sort of assisted pedal bikes. Now, they use much of the similar infrastructure on the same road space today, and rules are coming in to mean that we'll be having to work closely. So we will accept that within this proposal, but it certainly cannot be the primary focus of a project here. Okay, so this is about active mobility, walking, cycle. Okay, we expect you to drive up use of active mobility in 3 demo cities that you work in. We want to see a notable shift on the modes that people are using in the areas that you're working in. And we want to see business growth, skills acquisition, job opportunities. But importantly, we also expect there to be benefits on the pollution aspect, healthier living, cleaner air in the areas, but we also need to be very careful about lower levels of accidents and higher safety levels. As people start to use micro-mobility and mix it with active mobility on that same shared space, accidents are happening. I just got news today, one of our colleagues, one of their family members, their shared bike fell on their leg, okay? And that just happened this morning. So we need to think about that. We also want better use of public spaces and the arrangement of the public spaces. So as people are sharing between pedestrians, bicycles, etc., that they know the rules, they understand how to behave. Next slide. Future mobility. So future, we often call it future digital mobility, is about new services and disruptive technology. We're very interested in how digitization can change how we're behaving and the technologies that we're using. So this will include things like artificial intelligence, blockchain, 5G take-up, Internet of Things. And importantly, we've got shared micromobility that could be included in here, but the autonomous driving would come in here. Also, there's some options for urban air mobility. We commonly call these things vehicles of the future. Okay, so we expect city policy objectives to be achieved in 3 European cities. We're going to mention that a lot, 3 European cities, and we'll come to a specific slide on that later. We want to look at new business models for the services that are tested and implemented. We want to see replication and scaling. Many of these technologies that we're talking about are already quite mature. We already have 5G test beds, so we actually want to take up the scaling and the replication and come up with good products or solutions there. And importantly, we want better outcomes for citizens with higher levels of accessibility to urban mobility solutions. The next slide. Sustainable logistics. Okay, given this era that we're in with COVID, what we've seen is this rapid take-up of delivery services, of immediate food, of supermarket purchases and online purchases. So freight includes parcel delivery, things to construction sites, domestic, and also commercial waste disposal. So these things are quite wide. But we would consider things like new vehicles that are being used here, procurement, purchasing models of how people buy from what organizations locally, if the value of hub services and local logistics, also the production models and the software solutions for optimizing freight or shared services between different companies in one town. Okay, so improvements for urban logistics, we can see that you could include the vehicles that are being used, whether it's electric, shared pedal bikes, and the behaviors around getting people used to using them. We want it to be low carbon, accessible, safe, and efficient. And importantly, we do want you to be able to look at the overall quality of life of citizens and the impact of this huge change as we move to far more local logistics and supporting perhaps a local economy with logistics solutions, which we've previously connected with the gig economy and large multinationals. Next slide. Mobility and energy. Now, this area is new to us. This previously wasn't in our strategic agenda, but has the developments of the Green Deal has happened, and on the demand of our partner base, this has been included this year. So we want to look at cleaner fuel propulsion solutions. New vehicles come in again here. Also the charging, refueling and supply situation that we're looking at and the demand. So there's a huge opportunity to look at the appropriate charging infrastructure. We have lots of solutions out there, but what we're often considering is the impact on common shared charging. So that taxis, trucks, small vehicles, mopeds, bikes, etc., as well as private cars could share services, and we don't have to keep dedicating new space for different charging infrastructures and the complexities that that will have on the grid. Okay, so we do want to consider the cleaner vehicle of the future in 3 European cities and what that means. There is going to be, again, potential for replication because these things are being done. We already have hydrogen buses out there. We already have hydrogen-powered delivery for local logistics. So these things are happening. We want to see some alignment, and it would be great to see, as we're trying to drive up these technologies uses, that we support the policy with the evidence from your demonstrations. That's going to be key. But we also want to see reduction of greenhouse gases and the quality of life. So that's the 4 big areas that we'll be covering for innovation. Now, the next slide. You would have an obligation to choose a key performance indicator. Now, importantly, we've got some mandatory, and we want to just highlight those first. So there has to be a selection of a marketed innovation within the 12 months, or a startup created from the innovation project. One of those has to be chosen. If you want to choose both, even better, but you must choose one of them or your project will not be eligible. Okay, there are certain descriptions online, you can find them, of exactly what the startup created definition is and what a marketed innovation is. Okay, importantly, we've added the city engagement in the proposal. We want a minimum of 3 cities engaged, so this will be mandatory. Okay, now additional KPIs, we've got an example of some of them here. So while there's the mandatory, we want you to look at what's best suited to your project. This might be demonstration of living labs, actively involving citizens. It could be improvement in the public space in the realm as you've worked on dividing the shared space to support active mobility and safety. We would love to see the number of events that you have in your cities. And importantly, we will be looking at co-funding rate. For the innovation program, it's 30%. Okay, that's what minimum we're looking for. And importantly, designed and tested innovation, which is almost like a 3/4 step before you jump to the marketed innovation in the mandatory KPIs. So I just need to check if we have any questions. There is a question coming in. One of the questions that came is in relation to 3 cities. Do we really mean 3 cities, or can it be a regional local authority? It can be a regional authority that has cities within it, but there has to be 3. So for example, if you chose to work with Greater Manchester and you had your demonstration in Trafford, Manchester and Salford, that's not really going to work. Okay, so we do have to have a pan-European project, and we want different cities and different countries to be involved. We will actually have a slide on that upcoming, and I think it would be good that we a chance to see if that maybe answers some questions there, if that's okay. Next slide. So the city demonstration, okay? So we talked about our experience to date has been that sometimes we are not getting a solution which is scalable. It is very much a solution that's designed for one city. And it means there's no long-term business viability for that. So we want a pan-European solution. So it should be the same solution being developed in a minimum of 3 cities, but you only have to have 2 member states as per the rules. Okay, so you could have 2 cities in France working and 1 city in Germany, that's fine. The demonstration impact, you need to evidence that the cities are actively engaged and have resources, either as living labs or additional funding, to be able to play a full role within the project. And you will need to evidence that. So in our system, we talked about Plaza, which is the online submission. On tab 3, there is a specific section. And in that section, there will be 3 questions. And for each city demonstrator, you will be asked to complete the following question. And it's quite specific. So you will be asked to describe the city or living lab, whether they're going to be a full partner with costs or a demonstrator with no direct costs. What the city has committed to provide, for how long and what period, what's their written status to be, and is there evidence? Because we will be looking for that. If they come in as a 0 cost partner for demonstration, we will look for evidence after a negotiation that that's been prepared. Are there additional finances? Is structural funds being brought in, social funds, COVID recovery plan? Who in the city is going to be the partner on the proposal and support that? What's the scale of the testing area that proposed for you? And are there any private, public stakeholders going to be involved in that? So it's going to be quite specific. So the role of cities is going to be key. Why are we doing it this year? Because we have sometimes found that cities' roles have been performative. They've been included with small budgets with very little engagement. And what we're trying to do is have that on-street impact. So this is a big change, and we will be having some further meetings from our city club later in the next month to help you meet some more cities. So that might be an opportunity to do some matchmaking there. The next slide. Allocations. Now, I think we're getting some questions. If it's okay, I would just want to finish off on this one, and then we can and do the questions. So budget allocations. So we're going to be allocating 2.7 million, okay? On top of it, we also have an allocation for continuation projects, but we set that aside because that's restricted. So this year for the 4 topics, we've got a budget that's around 7.7 million. So what we're helping this year is being as specific as possible by letting you know the number of proposals that we're planning to fund and more or less the maximum EIT funding per proposal. So as per normal, we have a 30% co-fund. So while we might give you 1 million, the total project value might be 1 million. The EIT money to you would be 300,000. 700,000 with 300,000 coming from you. Sorry. So this is the guidance that you need to have with these numbers to make your proposal fit within this target. Again, if you were going to do an 18-month or 24-month proposal, the maximum EIT funding per proposal would be per year, not for the total. So if you were going to do an 850,000 logistics project in 2022, and you're going to continue with some demonstrations in 2023, you might well go in for 900,000 one year and 700,000 the next. So we do ask you to be specific when you highlight how long your project will be. So this is guidance. Of course, a little bit up and down depending on how much we get, but this is what we're aiming for right now. So I think we can actually answer questions now because there might be a few more. The last slide is just going to be the roundup, I think, for questions. Next slide. Yep, that co-funded, that's the 30% as we talked about. So an important thing is we have a minimum co-fund of 30%. If you have more support coming in, If you're seeing that your city is putting serious money on the table, for example, in active mobility, there's been huge investments post-COVID in projects to take back the street and create cycling programs. That money may well also be able to be put onto the table and given consideration. So this would be very positively assessed if you had co-funding over 30%. Risk countries, just so you're aware, we will be having a special workshop with our risk partners, which is the regional innovation scheme that we have. And these are for countries that have not been as fully involved in the programs as they could have been. And we're trying to build bridges of partnership. So we would be suggesting that you would be reaching out to countries, and we have a list of risk countries, and you would be able to bring in partners. Now, what we said is there is a suggested, but not limited maximum of 60K to 100K or so per partner to allow multiple partners from risk countries to participate. We will be having a workshop on that, specifically with Bensa, which is due in April. Okay, so we'll be able to answer more questions there. So now questions. Do we have questions coming up? Okay. First question, I noticed in the future mobility area, you're not referring to road safety. This is also in the previous version. Anything changed in the meantime? In future mobility, we do mention road safety, but what you basically saw here was a small slide, so you could also include that within your proposal. Okay. Would the mobility and energy area allow for building private charging logistics hub within the living labs? The mobility and energy area, you can propose whatever you choose as long as it fits within the criteria. Do we think you should be using our money to pay for base infrastructure? Probably not, because it will use a huge amount of the money and you're there to demonstrate solutions. So it's not an infrastructure investment. It's supposed to be a solution, product, or service. Try and keep that in focus. Okay. Do we assume drones are technology to be tested? Yes, we do assume that. We've made a common statement, which is vehicles of the future. You'll see that we use it in a few different. We're not saying cars. We're not saying. We talk about vehicles of the future that could be powered. They could be air. They could be hydrogen powered. You know, we just talk about vehicles of the future. So it's very wide. Okay, so vehicles, drones could be used. You'll have to be aware of local rules, bylaws, and perhaps get special permission. Makes it complicated, but we're looking for solutions, services, products. It might be too early for some of the ideas you have with drones, so think about that. Okay. Co-financing. The 30% left should be financed by the cities or by the startups themselves. So when it comes to 30% co-financing, that's across the project. How the partners choose to divide that 30% co-financing is up to them. For example, if you have a city that had already invested from other European funds and projects, and they could explain that, that might mean you could offset some of the costs, but for the the EIT project, it has to be 30% minimum. So careful with your numbers, and we will have some help provided by our friends in the PMO if you need to clarify any of those questions. Open general question, what is the success rate? Okay, so our success rate, I think it was 2 years ago, our success rate was quite high, about 40–50%. However, as we've grown in popularity, that's decreased. One of our issues we had to resolve this year was to make sure that we had a very specific guidance on the topics that were acceptable this year, their expected outcomes, and the budgets to help people be more specific and targeted on that. So last year, we went down to a success rate of about 15–20%. We're hoping this year to keep that to about a 30% success rate. Again, we're encouraging people to read the eligibility criteria and make sure they apply to try and be able to attain that 33% or so. Is there any other consortium requirements apart from the 3 cities from 2 member states? We do ask that there be an SME included. This would be very positively seen. Okay. Now, on top of that, risks, as we talked about, those countries that are underrepresented, it's not a requirement. You don't have to have someone from Serbia or a Polish partner, but it would be seen positively if you did. But it's definitely not a requirement. The only requirements we're saying is 3 cities, 2 member states, and 1 SME. Okay, I read that it's possibility to launch twin actions in risks. Could we explain? Okay, when we mentioned risks, what we discussed is that the integration of risks in the innovation program, instead of having 2 programs, we want to bring them together. And as I said, we'll have a special meeting on it. The principle, top level, would be we would make an application together and you would be on tab 3, where we have the specific special questions. You would be asked to identify the risk partners in your consortium, their function, and why they meet the criteria. And if that was approved and you were to be funded, you would be able to take the 900,000 or so from the innovation money. But if you had 2 risk partners and those 2 risk partners were claiming 50,000 and 100,000, we would claim that 150,000 in a separate project idea and link it to the innovation project idea. We would manage the project together, but for intents and purposes, one would be from one bucket of money and the other would be from the other while we manage them together. So it's a little bit more complex. We're stretching a little bit the rules this year, but it is legal. And we'll have a special workshop we'll be doing with Bensa, which is who's our risk director, and we'll be doing that in the middle of April. Okay. Are there funding limits for projects, partners, affiliated entities, and third parties? Yes, there are, and I'm going to refer to our favorite friends in Project Management Office to explain those limits. It's actually in the call document, if I'm correct. Alessandra, that's correct? Hello, Alessandra.
Hello, hi. So can you pose the question again?
Sure, it was on the funding limits for the project partners, affiliated and third parties.
Yes, so this is an information that it's not finalized yet. We are discussing with EIT in this respect, because as you know, this depends very much on the rules of Horizon Europe. In the coming days, we are going to discuss exactly this issue, but obviously, as you can imagine, we are not sure when this information can be made public. So at this stage, we don't have the final numbers. We know that there will be, and we will inform partners as soon as possible.
There you go. I'm sorry we can't be more specific, but we're expecting a higher rate. If that's not, well, we're expecting, we'll wait and see, but we're expecting you to be pleasantly surprised this year. Okay. The average project funding. Okay, if the project is over a year, as we said, okay, so would it be possible to go back to, I think, to one more slide, if that's okay, just to go back to the numbers? Okay, so for example, if you were in a sustainable city logistics, the question was asked if you want to do a multi-year project. You can do that, but we need you to give an estimate of the cost of second year and use this as your guidance. So you would not be doing a sustainable city logistics project for 900,000 in 2022 and then 1.6 million in 2023. You have to keep within the maximum EIT funding per proposal per year. And maybe that will help us if we add per year there. So I'll note that down to make sure that's perhaps added to the last column. Question. If the solution proposed fits multiple challenge areas, e.g. future mobility and energy, what would be considered an advantage? Aha. So very astute, this has been pointed out. So for example, we know fine well that there is no clear line between solutions. For example, some of the solutions that people have been proposing on charging and managing energy solutions could be considered for the future digital, or could be considered for the energy. You will have to decide what part of your project you want to emphasize. We've had the chance to go through multiple matchmaking meetings in innovation days, and often what's been shared with us, the projects that you have are massive. You know, it's a huge element. And the money that we're offering, it can probably only cover in detail a half, a third of what you're trying to do. So you need to decide what's your strongest element with a business solution and service and concentrate on that. And that should help you decide where it belongs. But we do see there's a natural crossover, okay, for multiples, but you need to decide what you think is the strongest. Okay. Any other questions? I'm seeing. Just one question was on the deadline being on May the 18th. Now that is the deadline that we have set. If there was a very serious delay on the EU providing their rules and guidance for us, of course there would be a knock-on effect. We can't ask you to submit a proposal when you don't have the framework for the rules entirely. Yes, so that's a concern. And we may have to be, there's always a disclaimer right at the front, this was given, and this remains the same for our programs on innovation. Now, I have 4 minutes. So I would take any last questions to come, or be happy to finish 4 minutes early. Going. I think we might have one little last question coming in. The only thing I'll do in closing then is to remind you that we will be as Innovation running a few interesting workshops on writing to the target that might answer some of your questions and how to try and write a winning application. EIT is very different from Horizon Europe in H2020. So for those of you who are new, it might be useful to do that. Thank you for your time. I would love to be able to hand over to one of our great challenge areas and makes us a little bit different from other EITs is citizen engagement, and to Bernadette.
Yes, thank you very much, Gareth. Welcome all. It's a pity we can see each other, but happy to be able to have this info session after all. So I'm gonna tell a little bit more about the call on citizen engagement. Next slide, please. Yes, so first of all, I would like to give a general introduction into what citizen engagement is for EIT urban mobility. So what we aim with citizen engagement activities overall is to develop solutions with and for citizens, because we think only that way we can deliver real change in our cities and make our cities more livable. And how we aim to do that is through the citizen engagement approach, which consists of 3 pillars: connect, exchange, and empower. And which connect is really about informing citizens about anything that is happening on urban mobility and in their cities and neighborhoods. Exchange is to really get them involved, to have a two-way communication. So having really information flow from citizens towards EIT urban mobility and our partners and our community, and vice versa. And empower is to get citizens and end users really involved in the whole ideation process. So identifying what is actually the problem, what are the challenges, which would be suitable solutions for citizens and end users, and to really test them as well. So the aim of citizen engagement for us is to develop and implement specific tools, methodologies, channels, and activities to build trust among citizens with us and long-lasting relations, to have to achieve social inclusion, of course, and stakeholder engagement. So bringing citizens on board in this whole process of looking for what the challenges are and what the solutions could be, and bringing them together also with cities, with industry partners, with researchers, universities. So making them really part of this whole ideation process. We want them to create new opportunities and experience new products and systems and services, and also share information in really stimulating ways, so that it's really something that they want to do and not something they feel they have to do. So this is about our citizen engagement approach in general. Next slide, please. So as for the call, yes, this year's call is twofold. So on the one hand, we have projects which you could say are a little bit more innovation type of projects. So it's about testing and implementing innovative methodologies, tools, business models, or processes through which citizens are empowered in co-defining challenges, co-creating with them, and looking for solutions. And on the other hand, we have events, and with events, we really aim to showcase innovations, innovative solutions on urban mobility, create awareness among the role that citizens actually can have, because very often citizens are not even aware of the fact that they can have a voice and that they can really make a change. So this is what we aim to do through the events. And all both scopes should focus on one of the challenge areas. So 4 of them have already been presented by Gareth. And the 5th one is public realm. And public realm is really about improving public space. So this can be in any way, right? So this can be giving more space to pedestrians, cyclists, making more space for green spaces in the city, reducing car ownership, and name it. It's really about improving the public space together with the citizens in this call. Next slide, please. So I will deep dive a little bit into each of the scopes. So first, the testing and implementing of innovative methodologies, tools, business models, or processes. So as said, what we want is to involve our citizens really into these processes and empower them, giving them a voice into co-defining what the challenges actually are. So what are the challenges the users of the cities are having if we talk about urban space and urban mobility? And the focus can be either on citizen engagement, which is really, usually it's more formal, more top-down. Often it's the cities, the municipalities that have a leading role in this, and they try to engage citizens in their in their projects and policies. On the other hand, it can also be about citizen participation, which is more informal and more bottom-up, in which we see often that it's just people living in a, for example, in a neighborhood, and that take the lead into really changing something in their area. So what we want to see as well is to, through these types of projects, to achieve at least one of the following objectives, and that is really to enhance a citizen's sense of responsibility over mobility projects and their implementation. So really encourage and incentivize citizens to make more use of sustainable mobility habits. It's about changing behaviors as well. Another objective could be to get more acquainted with technologies. So many things seem maybe very far from what they usually would use. and bringing this closer to the citizens and the end users can really improve the uptake of these new technologies. Another one is tapping into the local knowledge and addressing the real needs. So really going much more in depth, much more looking into what are the real challenges and needs that citizens and end users have, because this may be a way to improve social policies and services. Also mobilize citizens into developing clean mobility solutions so that we can create vital cities and healthy cities and access for all. And last but not least, also looking more long-term, it would be great, of course, if we could have a much more systemic way of including citizens in processes and designs and implementations of sustainable transport strategies and plans. Next slide, please. Yes, as for the partnership composition for these types of projects, we're looking for at least 2 beneficiaries from 2 different EU member states or associated countries. And this should include at least 1 city. We also encourage to include partners from risk regions. And of course, beneficiaries from other countries are also allowed. As for leading the project, that can be all partner categories can participate in the call, either as lead applicant or as beneficiary. And also something that is really suitable for these kinds of projects and for citizen engagement activities overall is the participation of non-governmental organizations. So this is something we encourage, and we think that that should not be forgotten. That's the reason that it's put here and emphasized like this. Next slide. Yes, as for mandatory KPIs, as you can see, we just mentioned 1 for these types of projects. It's city engagement in projects. So at least 1 city should be engaged in these projects. And this is really the sorry. This is really sorry, the minimum. So please be more, try to achieve more. And also we encourage, of course, more KPIs to be included, but this is the minimum that we expect for these types of projects. Next slide. So that was the first scope, and now for the other part of the citizen engagement call, which is on events. And these events should be to promote and create awareness of sustainable, healthy, safe, and innovative urban mobility solutions and options among citizens and end users. So this is a very broad description, and I am very much aware of that. So just to give you a little bit more of an idea what we mean here, and these are just some examples. So we welcome other formats as well. So these events can be organized in order to introduce and promote new innovative mobility options or plans that a city has, so that citizens get much more aware of this. We really do encourage that these events are open and interactive, and this is also a way to really attract citizens. So these can be events to familiarize them with urban mobility innovations, by making it in a playful way. So you may include gamification elements, use some really appealing marketing to attract citizens and end users, incentivize them, do some contests. So making it a nice experience overall, and thereby also making them aware of the fact that urban mobility is something huge that they can be part of, and changing that and improving that. Also introducing and promoting participatory processes to citizens, to really motivate them into getting involved. Testing new products, services, tools related to urban mobility in living lab ecosystems. And an event can also be about that. So we really want to see that these events are used to make citizens aware of the fact that urban mobility is something they can be part of, and to showcase that. And last but not least, it can also be a way to do this is to link it up to existing events. So that can be events that you organize anyway as a city, or but it can also be like these big events like the European Mobility Week, the Car-Free Day, any other event that you may feel that fits, could be a way to provide, to make it more impactful. These are just ideas, so we welcome any formats there. Just to say as well that it's not in the slide, that for example, if you do this and in 2 cities, the event should be similar in both cities, so that you can promote it together, so that you can organize it together, and to see that it has a real pan-European impact. Next slide, please. Yes, as for the partnership composition, so here we ask for at least 4 beneficiaries from 2 different EU member states, of which 2 cities come from 2 different innovation hubs, and 2 partners from the other side of the knowledge triangle. So if we talk about the knowledge triangle, you're probably aware of this. We talk about industry, research, and academia. And so you should have 1 of each of them, so 2 of them, and then additionally 2 cities coming from 2 different innovation hubs. And of course, we encourage you to include risk regions there as well. For the rest, it's the same as for the other part of the call. So all partner categories can participate in the call, either as lead applicant or beneficiary. And the involvement and participation of NGOs is also encouraged. Next slide, please. Yes, as for the mandatory KPIs, also here we have just 1, and that's the number of external and internal events. This is the minimum value is 2. Of course, we encourage you to include more KPIs. This will only make your proposal much more impactful. Next slide. Yes, and then some general main features of the call that apply to both of the scopes. So the expected impact is, of course, to create awareness on urban mobility innovations and challenges amongst citizens and end users, but also to enhance that sense of responsibility so that they really get involved and want to get involved in new mobility solutions and sustainable mobility. We want to empower citizens and trigger change. So we really want to see that behaviors are changed. So this is for the entire call. Next slide, please. Yes, and something quite specific for citizen engagement is that we also ask the projects to use the citizen engagement platform, which is called Decidium. So Decidium has been built last year. It's a digital platform which will be used to connect with citizens, and that can be in any way. So it can be either to have open consultations, to publish news or ask them questions, to interact with citizens, but also just to write blogs or share any information about your project on that digital platform. So it has been developed in 2020, but it's not yet operationalized. So we aim for doing that in this year, in Q2 or 3 of this year. And as soon as more information is provided, we will of course make this available to everybody. But as said, we will provide you with all the information. It will just be a way to connect with citizens and to disseminate and communicate about your project and your activities. So it will just help you to make it even more successful. Next slide, please. Yes, as for the budget, co-funding and duration, so citizen engagement projects will have duration of maximum 1 year. So they will be completed, they should be completed in 2022. And as for co-funding, we ask for all activities to have a minimum co-funding of 20%. So as for the budget, so the testing and implementing of innovative methodologies, tools, or business models or processes, we have a total budget for this one of 600,000 euros. We can grant this to maximum 4 to 5 projects, and it will be a maximum funding of 150,000 euros within the year for each project. As for events, we are looking for 1 proposal with a maximum funding of 200,000 euros. So I think this is my last slide. Or there's one more, please, next slide. Yes. Just a little recap, because this was actually already presented in the first half an hour. So as said, there are 2 phases of evaluation. The first one, the strategic fit evaluation, and then full evaluation. And so only proposals that are passing the strategic fit evaluation will be going through the full proposal evaluation. So really detailed information is all provided in the call document. For the strategic fit evaluation criteria, it's for citizen engagement, it's contribution to the EIT urban mobility strategic objectives, which can be found in the strategic agenda. Also contribution to the citizen engagement approach, and the EIT core and specific KPIs. Sorry. As for, it should also fit within the call area, obviously, and address the concept of the knowledge triangle. So please make sure that you include the different types of partners into the project. This is it for me. I will see if we have any questions here. So first question, could it be in villages and rural areas as to decrease the car dependence, increase accessibility, and decrease traffic by cars into the cities? Absolutely, this is absolutely possible. This would actually be very interesting. So please just make sure that it's also connected to urban mobility, of course. But I mean, people have to move from the rural areas to the cities, and this can be a very interesting scope. So the answer there is absolutely yes. Let's see. So another question is that for citizen engagement, the local language is important, and whether it will be possible to use local language on the Decidium platform. So for now, the Decidium platform is in English, and that will be the way forward for now. But of course, this is just one way to communicate with the local communities. So for now, we can really not say that we will accept other languages, as we have to do this in English. But we will look into this for the future anyway, to see how this would work. Let's see for more questions. Okay, so as for, could you please elaborate on the difference between citizen engagement and public realm? So public realm is not necessarily linked to citizen engagement. Citizen engagement, we really focus on making citizens part of the ideation process, of the entire process, right? Of identification of challenges, of looking for solutions and testing them. Creating awareness of the fact that they can actually do that as well and being involved in these types of activities. Public realm is really about giving more space to pedestrians, cyclists, reducing car ownership, improving routes, enabling multimodality, greening public space and parks, new street lighting, for example. So these can be, citizen engagement in there is absolutely very important, but it's not the focus of the area. So you have to see this as, it's more like, how can I say it? It's more a focus area of the city in general, and other key actors are involved in there as well. I'm not sure if I'm answering this question, but for example, there is one question if a citizen engagement project based on public realm can be submitted. Can we submit a citizen engagement project based on public realm? Yes, absolutely, this is possible. So we have one call on public realm, which will be presented tomorrow, and citizen engagement projects on public realm can absolutely fit into the call of citizen engagement as well. So it's to see where it fits best, but you can absolutely contact us if you have any further questions on this. Any other questions? Let's see, I think another question is coming in. Okay. I don't see any other questions here. Okay, so then I think we're ready to go to the next one. So thank you very much. As said, feel free to contact us if you have any further questions, and I will pass over to my colleague Martin Vendel for the Academy call.
Thank you very much, Bernadette, for the citizen engagement call. So we now move on to Academy. Happy to be here to talk to you today. My name is Martin Vendel. I'm the Academy Director. So I will highlight the most important parts of the Academy call. So we will move to the next slide there. Yes, just, well, that was fast. The Academy is three parts, so you may know it as EIT Urban Mobility Master School, or EIT Urban Mobility Doctoral Training Network, or EIT Urban Mobility Competence Hub. These are the three parts of the Academy, which actually only two of them will be part of this call. I'll come back to that later. Next one. So I'm really happy to have this call launched, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank you all, because it has been co-created with all of you. So we did run a quite open process this year, a bit different from earlier years, where a lot of input was given before the launch of the call, which should actually be included in the call. And many of you have been quite engaged in that process, so thank you very much for that. I think that has really improved the quality of the call, and also we then kind of know that there is someone willing also to send in proposals for all the different areas that we are now focusing on. Next. So the Academy, what are we here for? So we need to look at the call in a wider context. The EIT Urban Mobility Academy is here to close the knowledge gap. We have a huge transformation in the urban mobility area. And of course, there is a need for training and education. And we usually say that that's a question about how to learn to implement new technology. It's about innovation entrepreneurship, but it's also about change management and transformation. So a lot of different areas where we need all of us to be trained and educated. We have then the three different parts of the academy, and we have rather ambitious targets here. The master's goal is presently with 7 leading European universities offering 4 programs, but we intend to expand that quite a lot, and the target is to graduate 500 students annually. We have the doctoral training network. Already today, 14 leading European universities. It's an innovation entrepreneurship program, and we aim to graduate 50 PhDs annually there. This one is then not part of this call this year. And then we have the Competence Hub with a variety of lifelong learning formats and a network of suppliers, and we target to educate 50,000 annually. So we have set the targets high, and therefore we need your help, and that's what we were going to use this call for. Next. So this is a picture trying to illustrate that the call is used to test new ideas, to experiment and iterate, so that we find efficient, good ways of reaching the targets we have. But most of what we do in the academy is not part of the call. It's kind of running operations with the different 3 parts of academy. But we take the opportunity to use the call for then, with your help, to figure out how can we do this better, faster, cheaper, etc. Next. So what we're going to look at here today, then in more detail, I will just highlight a few things, is this call document that hopefully most of you are already downloaded. So if we go to the next slide, a bit of background for the design and focus this year. And it's, as said, it's very much based on the input from partners or potential partners. And we've done that through an open WordPress site, eitmobility.academy, that many of you have already seen. It's there still, and it's still in use to facilitate the process for all of you. We do have experience from earlier calls where, to be honest, we have not always been happy with the proposals because we have asked for something and we got something else, to be honest. And that has triggered us to improve. We need to be much clearer to all of you. What are we actually asking for, and what is the process, and so on. And that's what we try to do here. So we have the ambition to achieve an improved clarity, better precision in the call, and transparency. Also, as said before, we need to recognize that it's only about 30% of the total academy budget that's part of the call. For the master's school and doctoral training network, the most of the funding is then to the core partners that have an agreement with us for the master's school and the doctoral training network. Next. So in this call, we have targeted 2 of the 3 segments. We include the Master School and the Competence Hub. The reason for not including the the doctoral training network is that in the process prior to the call, there was not a lot of ideas, and there was not a lot of specific needs or issues highlighted that would actually fit the call. So we did choose not to include it in the call and focus on the areas you have highlighted as being more urgent needs and things and issues to solve. The Master School, there we have 6 specific call areas. So we actually only expect, or we only welcome proposals fitting those call areas, and I will run through them quickly soon. We have The budget here is about 30% of the call budget and 70% of the competence hub. We expect some limited contribution regarding financial sustainability, but not much for the master school because it's not very easy. We expect some but limited co-funding, and we do welcome projects that can also run from 22 to 23 and 24, even though this call is specifically addressing the budget for 22. And we expect 6 to 10 successful proposals. For the Competence Hub, we have 7 specified call areas. As said, 70% of the call budget for 2022 is expected to go to the Competence Hub. We do expect significant financial sustainability contribution from these activities. We have introduced a co-funding rate that we did not have last year, but here that it's of 10%, and we do expect more, people to have higher co-funding rate than 10%. And also here we do expect some activities to suggest that they can be repeated then and continued 23-24. I'll come back to the details about that. And we expect 7 to 14 activities. So now I'll just run through the specific call areas. We don't have time to go through them in detail, but I will show you later on where you find detailed information about these. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we start with the 6 areas for the master school, and we have then summer schools that we need. It's part of the master school concept, so we always need a number of summer schools, and we expect 2022 to need 2 to 3. Why it's 2 to 3? It's also that we don't exactly know how many students we will have. That we will know first in September this year. So it's a standard concept for the summer school. It's a 2-week, 2-city summer school. The students are starting in one city and go to the next one. They work on a common challenge for these 2 cities. And we then target the EIT urban mobility students, but also external students and young professionals. The second area here, challenge student competition, is part of trying to make it the master school more known to potential students. So that's the main purpose. It's more of a marketing event because we have difficulties to reach out and get awareness. So this is a specific activity for that. So it's a pan-European student competition to raise interest for urban mobility, but also the master school. But we also have the third area here, which is more vaguely stated, but more general raising awareness activities with the same purpose of marketing and raising the awareness. And we want their student leads. What we mean by student leads is that students signing up to get more information about the master school and potentially can then apply. Next slide, please. The fourth area is another challenge we have, and that is to integrate risk region more in the master school. And we have not been very successful there. So we need more ideas on how we can do this from you. And so we look for ways to integrate this and also teacher concepts. How can we get students from risk regions to do different elements of the master school and leverage on the things that we do? The fifth area is looking into a new program for the master school, where we would like to have a master in innovation entrepreneurship or industrial engineering with an urban mobility specialization. This is different from what we have today. It's kind of the other way around, where we have the technology specialty or major, and then the INE or innovation entrepreneurship is the minor. But we would like to make these programs broader. And the reason for that is that we would like to attract a wider set of student backgrounds, because we always talk about that we need to combine different competences to make the transformation happen. So this is one way to do that. The last part of the the last part of the master's call is the teaching methodology with a knowledge triangle perspective. Sorry for not spelling it out. And this is also something we struggle with. How can we in a better way integrate industries and cities in the activities of the master school? If we then move to the competence hub, the next slide, there we have 7 areas. Here we have quite a demand on financial sustainability, and therefore we look for specifically the first 2 areas here is urban mobility courses, either online or face-to-face blended, with a significant financial and impact potential. So that's could be in any urban mobility area, as long as we make sure that it can actually generate revenues and reach a wide audience. Then the third area here is meeting city staff education needs. And the reason why this is highlighted is that we hear this a lot, that the needs, there is a lot of need, of course, from city staff, but a lot of the things that are on the market are too expensive or too complicated for cities to join. So therefore we need to find new ways of doing this so we can meet the need of the cities. The fourth one, coming back again to the integration of regional innovation scheme, the risk countries, is also in the competence hub required. How can we leverage better on the things that we do in the competence hub to reach out to risk regions? That could be, of course, as was discussed here before, doing things in a local language, etc. But we need to do things to meet the need in risk regions and adjust it to the conditions that we have in risk regions. Next one. The fifth one here is hackathons. And we need hackathons with a significant impact and also with improved financial sustainability potential compared to what we have done so far. So we need to raise the bar there in that respect. And then we have multi-stakeholder collaboration courses, and that's something that we usually talk about, breaking the silos. We need the multi-stakeholder collaboration, but how do we actually do it in training? It's not that easy. So we need some concepts there on how to do it and do it in an efficient way. And the last one of the 13 specific call areas is the challenge groups. So it's facilitated executive level cross-organizational groups focus on a specific common issue that they have. So it's very much about sharing experience, a facilitated discussion with some inspiration from different presenters and so on. So that's the last one. So these are the 13 specific areas, and that's what we ask for. That's where we look for a proposal. It has to be according to one of these 13 areas. If we go to the next slide, and I will just show you then, I mean, this is just, as you see, it's actually the call text here, but I just wanted to show you where to find this information, because it's really central in this call. Here, if we take the next one, you see the different, topic areas, and you need to refer to which one you aim for in the proposal. And here you also see the number expected of proposals to be approved. Next. We here then describe the scope of this. Read this carefully, because you need to match this to be able to not be kicked out of the evaluation process. I'll say a few words about that by the end. Next one. What we also have here is compulsory KPIs, and they are different for these different 13 areas. So look carefully there. There's also the minimum number stated. Of course, the minimum number in some cases is, to be honest, quite low. So you should, of course, aim higher than that, but that's the minimum to be eligible to continue in the process. Next. We also, for every of the 13 areas, specify expected financial sustainability. So in this case, for the summer schools, for instance, we expect minimum 4,000 euros from tuition fees from paying students or young professionals in that case. Next. And here is also the potential. What can this develop into? What do we see may happen in the coming years if we continue this? So you need to explain and what the potential of this is if we continue after 2022. And the last, if we go to next, is just some additional information about this specific call area. So that's the way you need to read the proposal in these details, because this is really, really important, the specification for each area. If we move on to the next slide, and the reason is that when we look at eligibility and evaluation of this, you see that step number 1 there, the strategic fit evaluation, the question is the proposal in alignment with the scope of one of the stated activities? And if the answer is that it's not, then we will not continue with the evaluation. Are the KPIs in line with or exceeding the stated minimum level requirement? And is the potential of impact in line with the exceeding the minimum level requirement? That was exactly what I showed before. It's stated in the call, so that's what you need to manage, or at least that's a minimum level for you to go on to the second stage here, where the excellence and novelty, impact and financial sustainability, quality and efficiency of implementation is evaluated. So then I just have a last slide regarding details about the call. So if we go to the next one. Thank you. These are just everything you find in the call text, of course, but and this is partly a repetition for you that were there from the start, 2 o'clock today. But it's open from 19th of March until 18th of May. The budget allocation is about 2.4 million for 2022 for this academy call. And as said, 30% is the master's call, 70% then the competence hub. The EIT funding is between 20 to 200K. We expect something like 100K in average. Co-funding, as said already, is 10% is required for the competence hub. That's the minimum level for a master's call. There is you need to look at this specific area, but in general there is nothing. But we expect still some co-funding, of course. We expect 20 to 30 proposals to be selected. We have the 2 segments as mentioned before, the master's school and competence hub, but not the doctoral training network. Any partner can be a CAVA lead and the lead of the proposal. It's a minimum of 2 partners per consortium from 2 different countries. As said, this is exclusively open to the stated call areas. The activities are to be completed in 2022, but interest to continue should be stated in the proposal, and also, if so, including a high-level plan. Then if this will continue in 2023, it's depending on what the performance is during 22. So that will be decided by the end of the year, and we will make a placeholder in the business plan for 2023. But it's then we need to agree upon the conditions for this to continue. Financial sustainability requires on a selection of proposals, and we suggest the standard academy revenue share model. It's included in the call, but it could be something else. And then, as said before, the evaluation criteria. You need to reach the strategic fit coming regarding scope, KPIs, and potential. Otherwise, the rest of the evaluation will not be done. All these details you have in the text, but of course, we are happy to answer any question and discuss the details, what the call says regarding the specific call areas. to explain if not being clear. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing a lot of proposals, but it's and thank you very much for helping out in designing this call, and also the discussion we had, which has been very fruitful, and a lot of the ideas here were not at all on my list from the beginning. So that's thanks to you, and we are here to help out as much as we can. I'm not sure now that we have any questions though, but if you have them, please submit them as soon as possible directly, or we will end the webinar. I just get some information here that there is still no questions. Hopefully that was based on that I was very clear. But as said, drop us a mail. You have the mail address in the call, so you can always contact us with questions about this. If nothing else, I hand over to Mark to conclude and end this session.
Okay, Martin, so thanks million. Well, thanks million to all our speakers. Okay, I think that in the case of all of them, everything has been super clear. Okay, so maybe that's why we don't have any additional questions for Academy. So thanks a lot. Okay, so it's just a mind to tell you, thank you to all the attendance today. Tomorrow we will continue, okay, from 10 a.m. to half past 11, okay, with additional speakers, and specifically talking about the call specific requirements for business creation, regional innovation scheme, and public realm areas. Okay, so thanks a lot. I hope this has been useful to you, and we all hope that we will receive so many questions and also so many applications this year. Okay, and just remember that you can find us either in the email for the call, either in the specific emails for the different areas. Thanks million.